In this video, I'm gonna be cooking up some beef cheeks, LeRoy and Lewis style. So some of you might know, I recently went back to Texas and I had the beef cheeks at LeRoy and Lewis again, and it just reminded me just how good they are. I think they're better than brisket, and I'm sure you've seen Chud's Barbecue and the LeRoy and Lewis guys cook plenty of beef cheeks in this way, but I really wanted to eat some and I may as well film it. So I picked up some beef cheeks from my local butcher. Thankfully, in the UK at least, there is not a lot you need to do with beef cheeks. They typically come pre-trimmed, so they don't have that excess meat that you might have seen people like Bradley Robinson and Evan LeRoy deal with, that they turn into barbacoa, which is quite nice. And that's pretty much all I need to do with these in terms of trim. They're nice and round. And the other thing about beef cheeks in the UK is that unlike brisket, you don't need a really fatty cow to get good beef cheek. This is full of collagen, and you don't need a cow that's been on a grain-fed diet in order to get a good quality product. So if you really want to smoke some beef, Texas style, and you're struggling to get hold of good quality brisket, then find some beef cheeks. They're pretty common. Even the grass-fed are full of collagen, connective tissue, and they're gonna come out great every time, especially how we're gonna cook them. So as I say, we're cooking these LeRoy and Lewis style. So we're gonna go in with 2 parts pepper to 1 part salt. And the beef cheek at LeRoy and Lewis with the kimchi, the beet barbecue sauce, oh, just everything about it is just delicious. So I typically get my beef cheeks from a place called Meat Matters. They're some of the best that I've come across. I wasn't able to get any in time for this weekend, so local butcher it was. And that's it, probably the simplest preparation in barbecue, if you're in the UK. These are gonna go into the fridge overnight on a wire rack, and we'll cook them in the morning. So we got our beef cheeks going on. Come back and check on those in about 3 or 4 hours. And I was running this pit at around 250 Fahrenheit or 120 Celsius, and I got a little log at the front there just smouldering, just to help with some colour and some flavour to establish at the beginning of the cook. So these beef cheeks have been cooking for about 5 hours, and they've got a good bark on them, good crust. They're not even remotely tender, but I'm happy with the crust, bark, whatever you want to call it. 5 hours at around 250, and now I'm going to put them into this pan. They've got all the smoke and color that they need, and I'm just gonna cover them with rendered beef fat or beef tallow, again, whatever you want to call it. Ooh. And we're gonna confit these for the next couple of hours until they get super tender. Not so tender that they wanna fall apart, but tender enough to slice. And by confit, what I mean is cooking in its fat. As I say, this is pure beef fat. You can probably imagine that these are gonna be super, super fatty, delicious, unctuous, just ooh, perfect. And if you want to find out how to make tallow or rendered beef fat, then you can click the link above. You can make it at home or you can buy it from the supermarket. In the UK, it's referred to as beef dripping. So this will now go back on the pit for another couple of hours. I'm gonna say another 3 hours before I check this, and we're looking for that classic probe tender. So these beef cheeks have been on for exactly 8 hours. I've checked them and I'm pretty confident they are perfect. Nice and tender, maybe a little bit too far. So we're gonna let these rest down, probably to around 145, 150 Fahrenheit, and then we will slice into them. They are very soft. Right, so we smoked up these beef cheeks, LeRoy and Lewis style. So they've been resting in the beef tallow that they cooked in, and they are ready to go. They're feeling very soft. Hopefully I haven't overcooked them. I don't think I have. But even if you do overcook them, the rest and bringing them down to a cooler temperature is gonna help out anyway. So let's cut into them. So you could definitely squish these, but we're gonna slice them today. Nice and fatty, nice and barky. Really happy with the bark, real tender. So they hold up under the slice, but if I was to just do that, you can see just how tender they are. They are ridiculous. They're so good. As I said earlier, like if you are wanting to cook this style of barbecue, real barky kind of Texas style barbecue, and you don't have the confidence maybe or you're not able to get hold of a good brisket, you don't have the confidence to cook a brisket and spend the money, just go out and find some beef cheeks, and it doesn't matter where you get them from. In my experience, they are always fatty. Well, they are always full of collagen that breaks down nicely into gelatin, loads of connective tissue. Even if they're grass-fed, you get a good bark on them and you cook them in that confit, and it doesn't get better. It literally doesn't get better than this bite of barbecue. So my favorite bite of barbecue in Texas is the LeRoy and Lewis beef cheeks with kimchi and beet barbecue sauce on top of the Martin's bread. I'm gonna make up something that's kind of reminiscent of that, but I'm gonna do something that's a little bit more accessible to us and something that I think is delicious. So I'm gonna go in with some nice freshly baked bread, nice piece of that beef cheek. I made up some pickled red chilies, got a nice heat, nice acidity, coriander because I love it, and a little bit of cotija cheese, again, because I love it. I think it will work well. And then just my homemade barbecue sauce. I mean, this isn't quite the kimchi fold over from LeRoy and Lewis. However, I think it's gonna be pretty good. It's got all the flavors that I love, so that is good. That is pretty damn good. So that's smoked and confit beef cheeks cooked exactly like they do at LeRoy and Lewis. You can go and watch Chud and Evan cook these on Chud's barbecue channel or the LeRoy and Lewis Patreon, which I definitely recommend you should go and check out. They've got this recipe, but a huge amount of others. And as someone who does catering, I am checking that Patreon out pretty much every single week. And yeah, I can't stress enough just how much you should go and cook these if you're in the UK and you can't get hold of fatty brisket. This will do just fine, and I'm pretty confident that you are going to prefer it.